Center is built primarily for ice hockey. That's the main problem with it right now. 2/3 of the seats in the Bradley Center are in the upper bowl. The sight lines go down to the dasher boards. They don't go to the court side. There are no places in there for a team to create the type of income-producing events and also locations that they need to exist in the professional leagues right now. You think about all the amenities you have out at Miller Park, at Lambeau Field, none of them exist at the Bradley Center. So we're faced with a dilemma. We're faced with a dilemma of how we can get community support forward to support the Bucks. I think it's very, very important that that occurs. As you take a look at where the money's been spent in this state over the last 10 years, with the money for Miller Park, for Lambeau Field, for Camp Randall, there's well over $1 million worth of public support for those teams. In all the history of the Bradley Center, there's been $5 million put into it. So what's wrong? Our Senator Herb Kohl has a tough time trying to sell that he needs a new home. He's in a very awkward position, let's face it. But somehow, if we're going to maintain our existence as a major league city, and you can say that pro basketball right now is on the downside, but so was hockey back 3-4 years ago when they took a strike, and hockey now is very, very popular and is on the upswing again. And pro basketball will be in the same type of situation. So I think it's very important. They have said the Bradley Center can last another 5-6 years. If we're going to build a new one, somebody has to get it started in a couple of years. But over the next couple of years, I think it's very important for people in this community to form an effort to try to figure out how to save this. I think personally that there should be an extension of the stadium tax, number one. Maybe a dropout, Racine and Kenosha and Waukesha, so you don't fight with those people. We do it ourselves here in the city like we did, or in the county, like we did for the convention center. I think the convention center has to be part of it. I think that the new arena should be part of the convention center umbrella to protect it in the long run and to keep it independent and a public supported facility. And I think the time now is to start thinking in that direction. Phase 3 is going to be needed for the convention center. You all heard Frank Gimbel talk about that. And the Bucks need a new home. It all comes together. You take down the existing arena and you build a new arena. You tie it together with an expansion of the convention center, and you got a gigantic, catalytic downtown public-private improvement, just like the first convention center was.
Park tax in 2010 raised about $24 million. That's a sales tax of 0.1%. If you take the present value of that over the next 20 years at 3.5%, more or less the municipal bond rate, you get a $341 million pool of money. And it seems in some ways easy based on what Gary said, but the survey stuff that I have seen has been decidedly negative towards continuing that tax. Any thoughts from the rest of the panelists? How can we get this done?
I would say benevolent dictatorship is really a good form of government. I think that we should just do it, and I think it needs to be regional. I think one thing that would help it a great deal is if we appraise the basketball team before the building of the new Bradley Center, appraise it what it would be after it, and that there would be some kind of economic contribution from the ownership of the team as well. And I think that would sell it.
Let me take a minute for a reality check here. I agree with both Gary and Barry in terms of what would be nice to do. The political reality, I just don't think is there. We are in the midst of a pretty serious recession. We are in an international economic situation that none of us have ever lived through. The ability for any leaders to extend a tax, the county exec and the mayor will tell you, is awfully limited. I think this is one of those cases where we've got to begin to look outside the box and say if we are going to save the Bucks, and I think that's less than a 50-50 proposition, if we are going to save the Bucks and do something with the Bradley Center or a replacement, we're going to have to come up with something that's totally different in terms of financing. We're going to have to come up with something totally different in terms of structure. We're going to have to be aggressive, and we're going to have to see if the citizens of both the city of Milwaukee, the county, and quite frankly the surrounding communities who don't care some days whether or not Milwaukee lives or dies are going to have to become part of the solution. I think this is maybe one of the largest challenges that we have in our community, and the people in this room are pretty smart, and we're going to have to figure out a way, if we want to keep that structure, which is important to our national image as a community, we are going to have to come up with something that is not now on the table.